Welcome, everyone, to the first official podcast for Igniting Spirit. And I am Karen Hefner, your host. I plan on doing a podcast every month. It'll be posted at the end, the last Friday of every month. And I'm going to be inviting people from the community and other healers, colleagues, friends, to come and talk with me. And today I have the wonderful honor of having my first guest be Stacie Codino. Hi, Stacie.
Hello. Hi. Thank you so much for having me on here today. I'm very excited. I'm
You're
excited for this
welcome.
podcast.
I am too.
Yeah.
And Stacie is an angelic shamanism. She has created, along with her angelic shamanism, a beautiful way of working with the horse world.
Mm.
And we're going to talk a lot about the stories around that. I wanted to say that she's one of my very dearest and closest friends in the world. And I can't remember how many years ago it was that we met,
Mhm.
but we met in a light song shamanic
Mhm.
training.
Mhm.
And I was an assistant. Stacie was a student. And sometimes when there's an odd number of students, the assistants would be partnering in different activities and
Oh.
exercises. And so, as spirit would have it, and as luck would have it, I got partnered with Stacie. And we were doing this activity in which the student was to do a journey, go on a shamanic journey,
Mhm.
and retrieve the person's birth power animal. That was our intention going into that activity. And so I was lying on the floor and Stacie was doing her journey and we were moving through the process and she was journeying out loud and telling me what was happening. And what came to her was a bear. And she said, "There's a bear here," which Stacie has a big relationship with bear spirits anyway.
Yeah.
She said, "And this bear is insisting that it's your birth power animal." And so a part of the process in finding that power animal is to use your sacred breath and blow that ally's energy into the person that you're working with and working on.
Yeah.
And when Stacie did that, it was one of the most visceral moments up to that point in my shamanic experience because that energy dived into my solar
Mhm.
plexus and took my breath away. It
Mhm.
was so physical, it was so absolute that
Mhm.
I was almost shocked. I was like, oh my gosh. And so we sat and chatted about it after. And I think you were probably expressing I was nervous because I had to work with
Yep.
you.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
I
but
was.
that bear spirit has been with me ever since, needless to say. I have had many, many experiences and assistance from the Bear Nation.
Mm. Mhm.
And it was just profound. And I knew that I was working with someone who was highly skilled, whether you knew it or not at the time, but that
Right.
you were a highly skilled shamanic practitioner.
Mm.
And so we started chatting about
Mhm.
things at that point. You actually gifted me with a rose quartz bear
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
talked about your angelic background. And I can tell all of you who are listening that, in my opinion, Stacie exudes this angelic energy that she is as much angel as human, if not more, which has not the easiest way to walk on this planet,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
it's also a beautiful energy. And so in our conversations, I was telling her, she was asking me what I was going to do, I think, the next week. And I mentioned that my mom had passed when I was young and that she had always said she wanted to come back as a seagull if reincarnation were possible. So I was explaining to Stacie that I go to the beach on her birthday or on the anniversary of her death and say hi to her
Mm-hmm.
through the seagulls. And Stacie said, well, I do mediumship. That's what I do in addition to running an office and a business. Um, I do mediumship. And I said, well, I've never done that. And, my mom passed when I was 13, so it had been
Yeah.
decades. And so Stacie generously offered to do a reading for me, do a mediumship
Mm-hmm.
to talk to my mom. And I thought, well, that's wonderful. I'm going to give that a try. So the morning that I was going to drive to the beach, I was supposed to first stop at Stacie's office. And when I go to see my mom, talk to my mom, when I'm in ceremony often, I have a necklace that was hers. And it's a beautiful opal necklace. And I couldn't find it. I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked and I could not find that necklace anywhere. And, I went through the whole panic. Where could it be? And was tearing everything apart looking for it. And I thought, well, I've got to go because I have this appointment with Stacie before I go to the coast. And so I gave up on the necklace and went into the office and sat with Stacie. And she said, okay, well, talked a little bit. And she said, I'm going to see if I can contact your mom. And so I sat waiting and she said, okay, well, there's a woman here. And I said, is it my mom? I'm all excited. And she said, well, I'm not sure. Let me listen here for a moment. Let me see. She said, this woman keeps reaching for her neck or something around her neck. She just keeps
Mm-hmm.
touching that. And I said, I couldn't find her necklace. So
She
for me, it
told.
was this beautiful affirmation that my mom was there and that you were
Yeah.
in contact with her and talking with her. And it
Yeah.
was just so, so beautiful. And, I've known ever since and worked with you, with not only my mom, but others who have passed,
Mm-hmm.
and referred many people to you because you
Mm-hmm.
are a pure medium, and the
Thank
integrity with
you.
which you do that work is breathtaking. And
Thank
so
you.
I appreciate who you are in the world. And as I've watched you evolve and grow with angelic shamanism and creating that as a thing, creating communities from Texas to Oregon, um, and then all of the beautiful work you're now doing with horsemanship, which we will
Mm-hmm.
also talk a bit about, has just been lovely. You're one of those humans who came to be in service in such a true way that I look to you as someone that I aspire to be like, to be
Aw.
in service with such a loving, open heart the way you are is a beautiful thing. So
Thank you. That's so kind. Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
I think we're done.
Okay. Poof, my work is done here.
Mic drop.
Well, that's just my introduction.
we got we got some good to go.
Yes, we do. And Stacie and I love to laugh together, so
Yeah.
this is a good thing. So tell us a little bit, Stacie,
Hmm.
about your just, 30,000 foot level. I'm not expecting you to give us your entire life story in the next
Hmm.
45 minutes, but,
Hmm.
how did you talk to us a little bit about your path?
Hmm. So when the angel piece, I can't remember a time when it wasn't in my life or something I was thinking about, or I mean, even when I was little, it just kind of was. And I would talk to them, and it just didn't seem like it was different than maybe what anyone else was doing. Like it just was part of my life. And growing up in a rough household, it was a saving grace for me. And that's how, I think that was just so much. It was survival, yet it was nurturing. Like I was getting those things that I really needed in a different way. Um, and then into teenage years, I don't think I, like just thought, oh, I'm just going to not connect or think about them or talk, but it was like I didn't talk about it in front of friends anymore, or because it not everyone else was doing that. I didn't want to seem like the weirdo that or whatever. So, but it's still something privately I would still do. And then into my 20s, I remember hearing that they were, wanting me to talk to people about it, like bring it out into the open. And I still was really resistant. And I had moved to Bend, Oregon in my mid 20s. And how life goes and that path and how you get connected with certain people that just all divinely came together. And I met a woman who her name was Mariah, and she just was really significant in my life. And I just started really nurturing my gifts and realizing that it's not odd or weird, or that it is something, it's just who I was. It wasn't just like a pastime that I would do. It was just part of who I was. And so then I began in my early 30s, like bringing it out, and then offering readings and doing and studying, learning more about it with different people and bringing it out. Like learning those tools, I think, is so invaluable of how to navigate. I didn't, really know how I was navigating. Um, and then the mediumship piece came up. That wasn't a piece that I was aware of my whole life. That was a piece that I wanted to learn more about, that I wanted to involve into my work. And so I learned more about that. And it came natural, but it definitely took some mental work to get over I had to build confidence with it more so.
Right.
And navigate, well, okay, how do I do this? What do I want my boundaries to be with it? What is it like? Because all I'd ever heard was stories about dead people, like I've talked to dead people, that kind of thing. And also in different religious backgrounds, how it's, you don't do it and you don't, whatever.
Right.
So anyway, I blew all that stuff out of the water and just embraced it and really enjoyed it. And once I started gaining confidence with it, and it just began to get so clear so fast, um and the angels helped with that. They really helped put that together for me, and just kept those nice boundaries so I wasn't overwhelmed with things that I didn't know about. Or so then that was going on, and then I had met Jan Inglesmith at a talk in, I think it was New Renaissance she was doing. And it actually was a meditation. It really wasn't even about shamanism. It was more of a meditation class or something like that. I can't remember exactly. It doesn't matter. But um, I had always been drawn to indigenous type healing. Even when I was little, the alternative ways of healing, the natural ways, the connecting with nature, animals, like that felt so right to me. Everything else didn't feel natural. And so I had talked to her after class and we just started chatting about things. And so I decided to come to receive a soul retrieval from her. And that really, man, put it right on the map. Like that just was, connecting with the spirits in that way and the angels that were part of that. And so then I did the level 1 class, learning to journey, which, man, that's a powerful class. And when that is taught in a way that you guys teach it, that she taught it, that you teach it in ways that are just so there's just nothing missed, there's just no question, I guess is how I want to say it, the foundation that's put together. And so I remember second guessing a lot of that because it was different than the way I had been doing it. And so it took me a minute. Like, I think I was trying too hard. I was
Yeah.
overthinking it. I was trying way too hard. And I remember you said to me, because I think I don't remember if it was in that class, if you were assisting in that one, or if it wasn't until level 2, but I think you were assisting in that one,
Yeah,
maybe.
I probably was. Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember thinking, well, my bear is just like he's just there. I'm not having to, do. And so I think I'm doing it wrong. And I remember thinking, well, Jesus showed up. That can't be right. I'm doing it wrong. All these things is like, well, wait, and I remember you saying to me, well, the journey is the road to get you there. Like, if you get there, you get there, kind of thing. And that made all the difference when you had said that. It was like, wow, this doesn't have to be so hard. Yeah. So, and then that was just magnificent. And into level 2, when I had met you, and it was a residential back then, that level 2. And so, you were really enveloped in it. And then I remember the angels saying to me, we want, we want you to start adding these shamanic techniques in with your work, and we want you to call it angelic shamanism. And I was a bit like, well, who am I to just, claim that type of thing? And they were talking about the bridge that it would build between belief systems,
Mhm.
and how it can take away, stigmas and other things, and how, that blend of the energy. And of course, shockingly enough, they were right. Such a surprise. And so, yeah, and so that's kind of where it all started, and it just built from there. And here I am, and you know bringing classes forward and retreats and all of those things that I had dreamed of, that have just come into fruition in such a beautiful, beyond actually my dreams, bigger than that.
Yes. And the
Yeah.
name of your business,
Yeah, spirit awakenings,
Spirit
angelic
Awakening.
shamanism.
Yes. So that's how people can find you that are listening to this
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
find those classes and find that training.
Hmm.
Um, and I so resonate with so much of what you're saying.
Hmm.
There's a couple of things I want to highlight for people because you, like I said, to me, are just as much angelic as you are human. And so I believe all people come in with a particular kind of propensity or skill set. And so much of what you walked into, you felt a resonance with
Yeah.
because it was what you brought in with you.
Hmm.
And I don't believe we're ever teaching anybody something new. I believe that we're reminding them. We're allowing them to remember who they are, remember their gifts.
I agree.
And so what's beautiful about that is that you teach mediumship.
Hmm.
And so that has always been amazing to me because it's something that people think is some gift that they may never be able to
Hmm.
have.
Hmm.
Some people are very called to it, and so they try real hard. And like you said, a part of what got in your way was the trying real hard part.
Yeah.
And so you have a gentle way of bringing that forward in your training so that people do feel like they are capable, that they are simply remembering that
Yeah.
this isn't something that's not attainable for them. It is a birthright, honestly. And
Yeah.
I feel the same way about journeying.
Hmm.
And I believe that is every human's birthright, that we're born knowing how to journey. Little kids
Hmm.
are talking to stones and invisible friends and all of the
Hmm.
things that they get non-ordinary reality. They get that there's more going on and that the imagination is the way in and that they have a knowingness and an intuition. It's something that unfortunately so many of us in this culture were told wasn't real, that it was childish, that it was make believe. We needed to put that down and become adult. Um, but that's changing now. I truly watch the children being born now,
Mm-hmm.
especially, and a part of it is because of who they're being born to. There's
Right.
a waking up, and we're not telling people anymore that that's not real, whatever that's supposed
Mm-hmm.
to mean,
Mm-hmm.
and that everyone can do it. It's a matter of remembering, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a practice. And that word is key to me. This isn't work. This isn't something that is a skill you have to try really hard to learn, and that maybe you
Right.
can and maybe you can't do it because you're not capable. It's a practice. We all know how to do it.
Yeah.
And the more you practice, the more naturally it comes
Mm-hmm.
until it just becomes a part of who you are.
Yep.
Like an athlete doing the same activity over and over and over again
Right.
so that when they are practicing their craft, it's an
Mm-hmm.
automatic, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we begin somewhere and everyone begins where they are. And
Mm-hmm.
then we move into those places of, oh, right, I remember this. And oh, yes, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it truly is something that is a service, I believe. I
Mm-hmm.
know that's the reason I came, and I think we have that overlap, that we came here to remind people who they are.
Mm-hmm.
We came here to hold up a mirror so they can see their own divinity
Yeah.
and remember all of the amazing capacities that are here, and to remember that we came to experience the human realm for a second, because that's about how long we're here, right?
Right.
And that it's not intended to be easy. It is an initiation.
Yeah.
It is our soul's initiation into this
Mm-hmm.
particular life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with the skills that you teach, and with the skills that I teach,
Mm-hmm.
with the ceremonies that we offer,
Mm-hmm.
we are reminding people of their capacities, and we are helping them bring to this dimension, to this particular experience for them, um, a beauty and an ease and a joy, allowing them to heal and unfold and uncover their purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
it's different for every person. The way in is different for every person. The
For
angels
sure.
call to some,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The mediumship calls to some, the journeying
Mm-hmm.
calls to some, the concept of shamanism calls to some,
Mm-hmm.
and sacred geometry calls to some. I mean, the elements,
Yeah.
pagan Wiccan practices, so many ways in
Yeah.
to discovering who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I appreciate all the things that I've learned in all the places that I've been and the decades that I've put into this attempt at being in service. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that it always changes and it will continue to change.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
one of the places that you assisted me, I want to say, is in that beautiful bridge of angelic shamanism,
Mm-hmm.
because you and I have had numerous conversations around the wounding of that word, around the baggage and the
Mm-hmm.
heaviness of the
Yeah.
concept of shamanism,
Yep.
how it can bring up for people
Mm.
colonialism and cultural appropriation and all
Right.
of that heaviness and wounding that has happened in our
Mm-hmm.
world, that has happened, is happening, that happens in our world.
Mm-hmm.
And what we as practitioners have strived for in every moment that we've been working is respectful integrity, honoring
Mm.
of the human experience, honoring of where these traditions came from, and understanding that if we're going to move through this, if this human experience honestly is going to work,
Yeah.
we've really got to put the stick down, as I've been telling my
Yeah.
clients lately. We've got to stop
Mm-hmm.
with trying to fix everything that happened before, Because if shamanism teaches us anything, the core shamanic principles, it's there's no such thing as linear time and space.
Right.
One of the
Right.
beautiful things about healing in a core shamanic way is
Hmm.
that you're a hollow bone, you're not doing the work.
That's right.
And that we can trace back to source where things happened for people, whether it's in their DNA or in their soul's path or whatever it
Uh-huh.
happens to be, to do that healing so that that healing can then move out in every single direction.
Yep.
And so it was difficult for me because that word did not resonate with me. You know, somebody calling me a shaman, it was like, nope,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. That's not. I will say that I have been trained with great integrity by
Yes.
multiple cultures around the world, and
Hmm.
multiple from South African to Celtic to Aboriginal, Indigenous, Native American, First
Hmm.
Nations. I've had a lot of training.
Hmm.
So I use shamanic protocols
Hmm.
in an honoring way, but I'm not a shaman. That's not a mantle I wear. And when you start digging into that, you realize that that's just a word that the
Hmm.
source of is a little ambiguous, that
Hmm.
wasn't used in so many indigenous peoples' tribes. I mean, they were medicine
Hmm.
people. That word
Hmm.
didn't exist. And now it's a very loaded word and can get people really up in arms
Hmm.
about what it has meant or what it's done, or and watching you struggle with that yourself and listen to your guidance
Hmm.
and bring that unconditional love, which to me is
Hmm.
what the angelic realm brings,
Hmm.
into the healing of that
Yeah.
concept and of that word. It was like perfect. It was beautiful.
Hmm.
Of course, angelic shamanism
Hmm.
is attempting to heal all of
Hmm.
that wounding that has happened. And so I know I refer to myself more as an energy medicine person. I work in, because to me, everything is energy, and that really resonates with me,
That's
right?
right.
And
Yeah.
my passion is the mystery school traditions, and
Yeah.
my passion is going to Egypt and different places around the world and opening portals and allowing people to experience,
Hmm.
because I was told in my guidance that we are an experience having an experience. That's what's going on
Hmm.
here. So let's
Hmm.
do that. I
Hmm.
can't tell someone what their truth is, and I
Hmm.
can't convince them to let go or put the stick down necessarily
Yeah.
until they're ready to do so,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And so I've watched you take that and heal and soften that whole conversation in that way
Hmm.
and bring it to a really beautiful place with your offerings. And I watch your offerings continue to evolve so that you are doing soul retrieval and other very traditional kinds of modalities
Hmm.
using angelic shamanism, which is very different. It feels very different.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so I appreciate that.
Mm.
And then you didn't stop there, right?
Yeah.
You
Nope.
now you have introduced this entirely new realm of horsemanship
Yeah.
and working with those amazing four-leggeds to offer
Yeah.
people healing and offer people
Hmm.
a way in to a
Yeah.
different way of being. Can you talk a little bit more
Mhm.
about that?
Yeah. And I wanted to make a comment about what you were saying just a minute ago about the word shaman. Think back, it wasn't so long ago that the word or title healer would get you killed, right?
Yep,
Get you
that's
burned
right.
at the stake. Yeah. And so the evolvement, anyway, yeah. I hadn't thought about that before. When you were talking about that, I'm like, yeah,
It's true. Yes,
yeah.
we used to hide
Mhm.
to do all this work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That was a bad word, you know?
Yeah. And people still have to hide to some
Yeah.
extent. And we
Yeah.
still have that memory of it. It's a
Hmm.
visceral thing. I watch my students in classes sometimes have to really wrestle with some undescribable fear, almost terror that comes up
Mm-hmm.
within them when
Mm-hmm.
they're learning some of this,
Mm-hmm.
because someone might find out, because they might not
Right.
be safe,
Yeah.
right? And those
Yeah.
are things that are ingrained in our DNA, that
Yeah.
we are healing. We
Yeah.
are healing and we are remembering so that we can heal, which is
Yeah.
why the whole concept of lineage healing and ancestral healing right now is huge.
Yeah.
We're
For sure.
having those
Yeah. Big time.
conversations.
Big
Yeah.
time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so the horse, so I have always had a passion for horses. All animals really, but horses absolutely. That was one of the things that really drew me to you as well, because you and I at that level 2 class, our first class we met, we went on a little walk down the road during a break or something, and there were horses. And I remember you telling me how a horse was one of your allies,
Mhm.
and how much you loved them. And I was like, oh, yeah, I like her. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, so when I had moved to Texas many years ago, gosh, it's forever ago now it seems, but and I was more inundated around horses, and got to ride more and all of those things, that my passion was really getting fed and just kept growing. But I was doing it a bit different than some of the other horse people maybe I was around when I would engage with the horses. To me, it was more of a partnership connection that needed to happen more than they were a tool that, that I would just ride and enjoy. It really was this profound connection. And so the angels and my spirit helpers would talk to me about how I could navigate that, how I could bring that deeper, how I could bring that out to others, teaching others what that connection feels like. And I'm to me, there's nothing else like it when you connect with that horse soul to soul, not just loving and affection. That's wonderful too, but that soul deep connection, that it's almost like this spark in your whole entire system that happens. And I've seen it for people, including myself, but I've seen it happen, and it changes you forever. I feel. I know I'm a little biased, but that's what I feel.
It's
But
been my experience too.
yeah. And so yeah, and so I'm still developing equine soul connection is what it's called, and workshops, and also adding the horsemanship piece into where people who have horses riding in a different way, and connecting in a different way, which any of their sports that they're involved in takes them to other levels in their sports and makes both parties just happier to
Mhm.
engage in that way. But even if without people having horses, on the ground working with the horse, connecting with it, asking for relationship, these things that is wonderful for us, but it's so good for the horse too. They love to feel that relationship, and that they have a choice. I mean, we certainly don't like to feel like we don't have a choice, and so anyway, when they start to feel that and engage with that, and they see us in a whole new light, and so it allows them to kind of come out of not really a shell, but just kind of level up for them too, and have this amazing trust. And it's really quite profound. But I'm definitely it's the vision I get with it is, okay, so I've brought it out in this certain way, but now some of the shells are coming off to allow it to deepen and to go even further. And I'm in that process right now with it. Like, oh, what's that going to look like? For others to bring out in retreat type settings, workshops, right, type settings, similar to what we've done, and you've been a part of those as well, but similar to that, but adding more in. I'm excited to see what else evolves.
I am too, and it's been beautiful to
Mhm.
walk that path a little bit with you,
Mm,
intersect it here and there,
mm,
because, I grew up in a time where girls loved horses. I mean, it was a
mhm,
thing, right?
mhm.
And I was a city girl, and my best friend loved horses. It's how I learned all about the Lipizan stallions and started
Mm.
reading Misty of Shinkotig, I think it was called,
Oh,
if I'm pronouncing that
yeah,
right,
geez.
and The Black Stallion, and reading all of those
Mm,
books because I was always reading a book. But I was always intimidated by them,
mhm,
little intimidated. They were big.
mhm,
I didn't know really how to be with them. I didn't know how to ride, none of those things. But my best friends in the world were horse people.
mhm,
There was
mhm.
always that thing.
A link, yeah,
So I want to talk about two or three stories. Well, two stories that I have
yeah.
specific to Will, one of your horses.
Mhm,
And so the first one was when you were living in Cave Junction, and you and your husband Marty were going to go to Belize to go diving,
mhm,
and you needed someone to take care of the farm. You've got lots of dogs and cats and horses, and so I said, I'll do it. I'll do
mhm,
it. I will
mhm,
come and I will stay in your home while you're gone.
mhm,
And I know that you were like, ooh, little trepidation about leaving your babies, but you also
mhm.
knew that I would do everything I could.
Yeah.
I was a little intimidated, although I didn't tell you, because it's like, oh, I've never taken care of horses, and these are her whole life. I better do this right. So I go to take care of those horses, but a day or two before I came, I was doing some heavy lifting and doing some manual labor, and I hurt my shoulder. And I mean, I could barely lift my arm, and it was my right shoulder. I'm right handed. I knew I had to be shoveling, I had to be doing hay. I needed
Yeah.
to have my arms, right?
Mhm,
And I did not want you to cancel your trip. And so I had someone with me who was going to be able to help some. So I just didn't say anything to you. I
mhm,
just, off you go. You go and have a good time. Everything's taken care of.
mhm,
But I was a little concerned because I really didn't have a good use of my right arm. And so I went out to the paddock that night, out to the barn after we had put the horses in for the night. And I did that every night. I loved
mhm,
going out and saying goodnight to them and just
mhm,
being in their presence. And I went up next to the fence where Will's stable, his little living area was.
mhm,
And he came up to me, and I was just loving him and telling him how beautiful he was. And he stopped in front of me, and then he pushed me, my right shoulder, with his nose, pushed my shoulder. And I said, "Oh, yeah, well, that's a place that hurts.
Yeah.
That's a place that hurts." And so he came up to me again, and he started nibbling with his lips on my shoulder.
Mhm.
Then he started kind of scraping with his teeth, and I'm going, hey, big boy, don't hurt me.
Right.
I'm a little bit scared of you.
Some big teeth.
So he did that,
Mhm,
and then appeared to be done with me. You know how they do.
mhm,
It's
yep.
like, you may now scratch my hindquarters if you'd like, but I'm
Mhm,
complete.
mhm.
And so I went to bed that night, knowing on some level that he sensed it, that he was trying to help me, right?
Yeah.
But I woke up the next morning, and it was like, what? I was lifting my arm above my head. I could not lift my arm. I was bringing it straight out. I could do the whole thing.
Yeah.
He had physically done something energetically to me that healed that shoulder, and I didn't have another problem with it while I was there. And
Yeah.
so I was
That's
just
so
like
good. So good.
blown away,
Mm,
right? And I fessed up to you when you came home,
yeah.
that that had happened. And then, fast forward years, and you've now moved to Terrebonne and are
Mhm,
now living there in Central Oregon.
mhm.
And I had been going through really probably, well, not probably, I had been going through the worst period of time in my life.
Yeah.
and the level of grief, depression, use whatever label you want. I was just
Mm.
a shadow of myself. I was definitely um, not fully here and not fully committed to being here.
Yeah.
And so you had me come and you put me in the round pen with Will.
Hmm.
And we're doing the work that you do with people with the horses, in that, you just have people be aware of the
Hmm.
energy and to connect heart to heart with
Hmm.
that massive heart in that animal
Hmm.
and allow whatever to happen. Don't force
Hmm.
the animal to do anything. He's just loose and walking around.
Yeah.
You're just in the pen. And so I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And the way he worked with me still brings tears to my eyes,
Hmm.
because he came to me and leaned into me and did a soul retrieval. He
Yep.
did an extraction and a soul retrieval.
Mm.
He extracted so much of my grief. I was just bawling. And
Yeah.
then he went away and released that, dissipated that grief in the
Yeah.
way he does.
That was cool.
And then he came up to me
Hmm.
and just leaned into me,
Hmm.
just leaned into my body. And I just leaned back and I could feel him returning essence to me.
Hmm.
And then he was done and off he
Hmm.
walked. If he could have, he would have gone, poof, my work
Or
here's
mic
done.
drop. Mic
Yeah.
drop for Will.
And that was one of the most profound soul retrievals
Yeah.
I have ever experienced. And of course, being who I am, I've experienced a few soul retrievals on either end of things. And so
Yeah.
the capacity that these beautiful beings have,
Yeah.
these souls that come in as horses,
Hmm. Yeah.
is without a doubt magical
Hmm.
and beyond our comprehension.
Hmm.
Um, and a gift, truly, truly a gift. And I do believe we've only scratched the surface. And I
Hmm.
can spin off in talking about how I believe that the veils are getting thinner, that we are able to communicate once
Hmm.
again as humans with the animal realm in a way that used to be just the natural way of being, and then we lost it. But
Yeah.
we are now coming
Yeah.
back into understanding our
Yep.
interdependence and our equality. We're understanding that
Yes.
this is not a power over conversation. These
Yes.
beings are magnificent and powerful
Hmm.
and soulful, and all life matters.
Hmm.
And we can help one another. We can help one
Hmm.
another. And that's what I learned from you. It's what I've learned from Will. And those two experiences were amazing. And I know that
Hmm.
we've briefly talked, and we will talk more, because I sat through and experienced the animal Reiki training that was developed by
Hmm.
Colleen Benelli and Sue Strong and Robin Benelli and another woman whose name, I'm sorry, escapes me. But they created training through the ICRT, through International Center for Reiki Training. And it is a beautiful training.
Hmm.
And, I've been doing Reiki for 20 years, and I've walked through many iterations of Reiki as it's gone through its own evolution, from Asui and Asui Tibetan and Holy Fire 1, 2, 3, Karuna Reiki, all of those things.
Hmm.
And believe in it. I do it every day.
Hmm.
And I thought, how much different could animal Reiki be? I was curious, but
Hmm.
I didn't, I wasn't prepared for the profound experience that I had in the work that those women did to put that together. And, Sue Strong, who's worked with guide dogs for the blind
Yeah.
forever, and worked with elephants in her past, and
Mm.
it, all of her experience with the four-legged world. And then, the depth of Colleen and Robin's Reiki and Colleen's experience with horses.
Right.
And I mean, when I took her first Reiki class ever, I took at her farm, and she was utilizing already the horse. That was a
Nice.
Reiki horse, and she knew it was a Reiki
Mhm.
horse, right? And so I'm excited because I think together you and I can do some things with animal Reiki and your horses
Yeah.
that will be yet another offering and another way
Yes.
in for people to understand
Yes.
the power that's available to us and the collaboration with these
Hmm.
amazing beings.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. They just are, they're breathtaking, you know, the magic that they are. Yeah.
They're
So
so
they've,
wise, so intelligent, so kind.
mhm. Yeah. And so forgiving,
Yeah.
so forgiving. I mean, it's just amazing. And that is one of my goals as well, is to, as you bring out more of this information and training and all of these things, to help people to see them on another level,
Hmm.
as well, and that can change the industry.
Completely, because
Yeah.
as we realize that they are our teachers,
Hmm.
then we see them in a completely different light.
Hmm.
And they teach us. They teach us forgiveness. They
Hmm.
teach us their magic.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
will change all
Yeah.
industries that have to do
That's right.
with horses.
Yeah.
And it'll change the healing industry
Hmm.
in the
Hmm.
understanding of how, by us offering our healing to them, they are offering their healing to us. As every circle, everyone's a teacher and everyone's a student. And so it is a beautiful collaboration. And
Yeah, it
how
is.
can,
And that imbalance, right? That energy exchange imbalance. If it's imbalanced, that's where issues happen. And so helping to balance it, which is the exchange of yeah, it's anyway, it's just wonderful.
it is, and so much more to come.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we are doing, I want to put in a little
Yes.
mark your calendars, right?
Yes.
Because one of my passions is ceremony, and I'm coming to understand ceremony in many different ways, including the fact that we're always in ceremony.
Mhm.
Our
Yeah.
entire life is a ceremony.
Right.
And so I do firewalk ceremonies. I'll be doing another firewalk here in the Portland area on March 9th. And
Hmm.
Stacie says she's going to come. So if you would like
Yes.
to meet Stacie and
Yes.
experience her energy there, she's going to be coming to the firewalk.
Yes.
And we are going to put together a weekend workshop
Hmm.
the weekend of June 8th and 9th.
Hmm.
And it will be an initiation. It will be
Hmm.
ceremonially based. It will be practices in angelic shamanism.
Hmm.
It'll be initiations undoubtedly by Archangel Metatron,
Hmm.
utilizing some sacred geometry. And we're going to have a fire walk on the first night, on the Saturday night.
Hmm.
The class itself will be held in Canby,
Hmm.
where Stacie has held her classes before with our beautiful, wondrous friend Ken.
Hmm.
And we're going to have more information coming out about that soon, but we hope that you can join
Hmm.
us that weekend of June 8th and 9th. And in our beautiful collaborations, Stacie and I are also planning on, perhaps in the fall of this year,
Hmm.
a field trip to Enchanted Rock in Texas,
Yeah.
in which
Yeah.
we will be experience the magic that is
Hmm.
Texas. And Stacie has a beautiful community there that she built
Hmm.
while she was living there. And there's a lot going on in Enchanted
Yes.
Rock. There's huge mysteries, huge energy there
Yes.
that we are
Oh
going to
gosh.
experience firsthand. So,
Hmm.
once again, be looking for dates for that.
Hmm.
And then you've got some classes coming up,
Hmm.
you've got some events.
Yes. Yes. I don't have dates on the actual retreats just yet, but that's all in motion for this year, as well as more of the equine workshops and connections. I'm doing a spirit release, angelic shamanism spirit release in, I think it starts next month, February. It's just I don't remember if I put 2 or 3 days. I'm sorry.
It's
I
okay.
don't have the exact dates, but it's all on my website, which is staciecodino.com. Yeah, and the dates this week will be worked out for all of the other retreats and things. I'm doing some soul retrieval teaching as well as advanced. So that's all on there. And yeah, it's fun.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
I, so much of what we do is organic and
Yeah.
it is informed almost in the
Yeah.
moment often. And so I just want to be sure people understand that they can find you at
Mhm.
staciecodino.com.
Yeah.
That's STACIE
Yes.
CODINO,
Hmm.
staciecodino.com. You can get a hold of her. You can get on her mailing list. You
Hmm.
can see her calendar of events and get a better idea and stay plugged in so that you get notifications of these things. Um,
Yeah. And I do want to say too, I'm starting the first Saturday morning of every month. I'm doing an angel healing and gosh, they're going to be doing all kinds of things for us in that. It's a 2 hour class. I starts at 9 or 10. Anyway, that is on my website. And yeah, so they're going to bring something new in, not only information as far as what's important for us to know, but also we're all going to receive healing as well. However, they'll take that. I know it just sounds so vague, but it is very organic. They do it on the fly, and if I try to plan it specifically, they will change it on me in a heartbeat. So yeah. And it's such a great way, I feel like, to kind of keep your keep up, like keep up your healing, keep up holding your power, like to really build that healed version foundation, clean up from the month. I'm really excited about it.
I am too.
Yeah.
I agree. And it's no accident that I've been called to be doing the same types of things as
Yep.
have many of the healers and
Hmm.
colleagues of ours that we know. Trying to
Hmm.
create different opportunities at different times during the month, different ways, different formats. I'm currently teaching a class on the medicine wheel. I'm teaching sacred geometry
Hmm.
classes, and I'm teaching a class on the archetypes using the
Hmm.
hero's journey. And I'm doing lots of drum making workshops. So people
Oh.
can find my information on my website at
Uh-huh.
ignitingspirit.com. Um, that there's the March 9th Firewalk. And I've also
Yes.
got a membership program started now in which you join as a member, and there are 3 circles a month that you have the opportunity to meet and gather. And again, it's very organic at this point.
Hmm. Hmm.
It gets created by the circle of humans that show up, as
Hmm.
well as
Yeah.
by the spirits ahead of time. It could be a guided
Hmm.
meditation, it could be a teaching, it could be a Q&A, it could be very talking stick based, it could
Hmm.
be sharing.
Hmm.
I don't know, but I'm carving out the time to make sure that there's a place for
Hmm.
people to come together. And then
I
these
love that
podcasts
idea.
once a month.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut
That's
you off.
okay. That's
I
okay.
love that idea. I think because I feel like when people sign up for that membership, it keeps you, it just kind of directs your energy with your intention of every month showing up. And so as we know, when we plan something or put something on our calendar, the spirits and the angels, they're on it way before we get to that date. So it's
Mhm.
really keeping you in that motion of healing and development. I think that's a fabulous idea.
And that's exactly right, because
Hmm.
whether you think you're doing the work or not, the work is being done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you set an intention, when you set a session for a healing, when you sign up for a class or a membership, they start working on you immediately. They know what the
Hmm.
intentions are in your heart. And
Hmm.
so things begin to shift and change. Doors
Mm-hmm.
begin to open. Manifesting begins. Your
For sure.
energy always follows intention. Your intentions
Mm-hmm.
begin to come into this
Mm-hmm.
dimension in ways that you may have never guessed they would.
Usually. But it's always better, you know? Like the end is always better than we could have created, put on
And
paper for ourselves.
that's right, in our own limited way of looking at the
Mm-hmm.
world.
Yeah.
So true. So
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I love
Oh,
talking to
thank
you.
you. You
I,
too. Thanks for having me. Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
I'm happy to chat with you for an hour anytime.
Yeah, we cleaned it up for you folks because we were a
Yeah.
little incorrigible when we first got on the Zoom call because we haven't chatted for a minute. But Stacie will be back for more conversations,
Yeah.
and we hope to see you also in circles. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us and listening. If you have any questions or any curiosities, you can reach me at Karen@ignitingspirit.com, and you can reach Stacie at
Mm-hmm.
Stacie@StacieCodino.com.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And we'd be more than happy to chat with you.
Yeah.
So thank you. Be
Thank
well,
you.
and so many blessings on all of you.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you.